What is up, Hawk fans? I actually recorded this earlier, but unfortunately, sometimes based on my schedule, I have to record a portion of it, then another portion, then another portion, and I actually have time to just record it again in its entirety. Hopefully, I can give you guys some much-needed distraction from the election. I know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to care about the election and things like that, but it can definitely be a stressful time for a lot of people. So, hopefully I can give you guys 10 to 15 minutes where you guys can think about something else and kind of take your minds off of it. So Iowa defeated Texas A&M Commerce. I think it was 89 to 77. Could be wrong. But they won by, I believe, 22 points. And here's the thing, guys. It's kind of hard to glean any major thing from a game like what we saw between Iowa and Texas A&M Commerce. Really, in games like that, what Fran McCaffrey is trying to do is to work out his roster, give guys who he wants to develop some minutes, work out rotations, work out kinks in lieu of, the Big Ten slate and some of the tougher non-conference games like playing Iowa State. You can also see kind of like how guys look physically, the different rotations, the starting lineup, individual performances and things like that. So let me talk about the rotations a little bit. I actually liked the rotations. This is going to be a very deep roster. Now, Fran McCaffrey has always had quote-unquote deep rosters, and a few years ago I used to really like that, but as I've gotten older, having a deep roster is not always, especially in basketball, is not always the best thing, or it's not the strength that Fran McCaffrey tries to make it out to be. Because ultimately, do you have a deep roster because top to bottom your roster is super talented? Or do you have a deep roster because your starting five and really your whole roster, there's not really much separation between the players? So, anyways, I think for this team, there's definitely talent, especially with the top three guys, Owen Freeman, Josh Dix, and Peyton Sandfort, obviously. And I do think that there's legitimately, from top to bottom, talent on the roster. Now, regardless, when it comes time, it's just the nature of basketball. There's only so many possessions in a game, and even in this day and age, where the tempo is way higher, there's still only so many possessions. There's only one basketball. There's only so many minutes to go around. And so when Iowa starts to play some of these other rosters, minutes, it's just like the NBA in the playoffs. Minutes get restricted, and some guys get cut out completely. But for this game, I did like the rotation. One thing, I wasn't necessarily wrong about this, but it wasn't something that I was fully anticipating, is where Price Sandfort is in the rotation. Price Sandfort, I thought, was going to be like second, maybe third, kind of somewhere where J.R. Coach, a.k.a. J.R. Koch, a.k.a. J.R. Koch, is at. But I think Price Sandfort is going to be the first or second guy off the bench for the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's going to depend from game to game. For example, if Owen Freeman gets into foul trouble, which I do think he is going to happen to him again this year, if he gets into foul trouble, Evan Bronze or, maybe a Sadao Traore, it depends on kind of what Fran McCaffrey's looking to do, will come in first. But by and large, I think Price Sanfort is going to be one of the first two guys off the bench, and the second guy is, of course, going to be the new point guard transfer, Drew Thelwell. Drew Thelwell had a solid game, 10 points. He showed his defensive prowess. He showed his ability to get to the rim. He slammed it on a dunk really easily, and I think that displays his athleticism and the size that he has at point guard. He's 6'3", which Iowa has been missing that for quite a while. They did have it with Mike Gazelle, a point guard that's above 6'2", but Jordan Bohannon was on the smaller side. And so having Drew Thelwell, especially when you have Brock Harding, who's a smaller guard, is definitely going to be helpful. So he had a pretty solid game. Brock Harding had a solid game. You know, he is so quick, and he really does play at his own pace, which is extremely helpful. It's going to be a huge skill set throughout his time at Iowa. And it's going to be interesting to see how that continues to develop. And, you know, ultimately he just needs to continue to make that a strength of his and really get guys to move where he wants to move them, so on and so on. Peyton Sanfort had a great game. He's going to have a monster year this year. He scored in a variety of ways, but yes, again, his number one skill set, of course, is his ability to shoot the rock. That is definitely his number one skill set. Owen Freeman had a nice game. He still seems to have issues fouling, which that's something to keep an eye on. But I think Iowa is better prepared this year than they were last year to have him on the bench if that is the case. He looks better. He looks more developed as far as his skill set, his post moves, and things like that. But that's just something that big guys develop over time, especially when they're good offensively, is their defensive skill set. You know, always playing straight up rather than coming down and making contact that way, being in better position, doing the work early to be in better position. Going back to Price Sanfort, just to highlight it, he had a really solid game. He's just as good of a shooter, if not, I mean, time will tell if he's a better shooter than Peyton Sanfort. I mean, I think early on in his career, he's actually been a slightly better shooter than Peyton Sanfort, more consistent. Peyton Sanfort very much is a streaky shooter, and that is huge. And I think Peyton Sanfort, Price Sanfort, this goes back to his time in high school, has a better ability to play point guard than Peyton Sanfort does. So I'm really happy about that. You can never have too many shooters. Fran McCaffrey said he got stronger. He looks about the same physically to me, but you know, him and Peyton have always been on the skinnier side. And, you know, but I suppose there's a difference between how you look physically and your actual strength. I mean, I'm not there in person, so I'm not in the, as a fan, I'm not in the best position to see his gains. Fran McCaffrey would know better. So if Fran McCaffrey says that he's gotten stronger, I will lean on his expertise with that. What else? Let's see. Josh Dix kind of had a quiet game, which, you know, I considering how he did in the exhibition game, I don't think is a concern. I think he wanted to kind of allow his other teammates to get involved and kind of take a step back and be more of a playmaker in this game, which is vitally important because Josh Dix at the guard position is at times not only going to be asked to score, but he needs to be a playmaker. And depending on the game, especially if he's having an off night, he is going to have to step up and be a playmaker and find ways to be a net positive for his team when his shot is not falling, especially at the guard position. The last couple of notes, Sadao Traore was injured. Fran McCaffrey said that he thinks he might be back for next Tuesday's game. If he's not, he should be ready by Thursday. He was in a walking boot. He's definitely going to be a key piece of this lineup. Sadao Traore is going to play a lot in some games and not so much in others, just because of his skill set. Sometimes Fran McCaffrey is going to have to go with lineups that have better shooting, especially when it comes to the bench. And sometimes he is going to have to go with lineups that have more athleticism and better defensive ability and the ability to probe the defense and attack the rim. So Sadao Traore, I think, unless he has developed a really, really consistent jump shot, which I don't think he's quite there. He's getting there, but I don't think he's quite there. His playing time is going to fluctuate. Price and JR, it'll kind of be about the same throughout the year. Sadao, in certain games, he'll play 10 to 20 minutes. In some games, he won't play very much at all. Evan Braun's got some playing time. He's going to be the main backup center for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And that's pretty much it, guys. Not a ton to glean from this game. Not a complete letdown or anything like that. I think the Hawkeyes played fine. They were a little slow to begin. Their turnovers were high, but they will get that worked out. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to smash that subscribe button, like, comment, share. You guys know the drill. And last but not least, EBAP, don't be a pussy willow. Facts over feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, Hawk fans. Try and keep your sanity tonight. See you guys next time. Peace.